get one of them B6 soldiers, you know, the new super soldier program.
Do you know anything about that program?
No, not much. All of it is classified.
I'll declassify for you.
Mason in the story is a super soldier, secret agent, kick-ass, one hell of a motherfucker. What he is well, what we call him in the film is a jack of all armies. He's trained to be a SEAL. He's trained to be Mossad. He's trained to be any army you can think of. He's trained with, and that's what makes him super. It makes him a super soldier.
He's a very well conditioned soldier, and he used to. Well, I don't really know his past very well, but I know that he's very, very experienced, and he's been through a lot, through the army, through the spy networks, whatever. And he's been on a lot of missions, and a lot of dark missions, and a lot of missions where he's done a lot of things that he doesn't like, which Mercer brings up during their talk about killing children and stuff like that. I don't really know what that means, but I imagine it hits home with Mason.
He's just your kind of, I don't want to say he's your average secret agent because he's not, but that's sort of the, if you were to stick him in a box, that's where you'd have him.
Yeah, you can see straight away, but like, there's not many lines for anyone in the movie, but like one or two lines gets you hear Mason say a line, you know there's a lot behind that. He's speaking from experience. There's a lot behind what he's saying. He's not just saying it because he's the secret agent on the job. He knows what he's talking about, and he believes it very strongly as well, as does Mercer on his side.
Mason is more of a middle ground. He's more, he's as intelligent or perhaps more intelligent than Mercer. He is very physical guy, athletic guy. He can stand up, to the likes of Ulrich. He can really take a beating when he needs to. So
one of the core aspects of the character was he is doing a job. Nothing is personal. He can take his wife. He doesn't give a shit. It's a job. He's been given a mission and he does it. He won't take anything personal, and he doesn't. Even in the film, what happens to him, his job is to take down him. End of.
Mason, in a literal sense, is tied down not to his own value system, but to the value system of his higher ups. And to a degree, yeah, he can kind of go rogue and do things his own way, but he tends not to. He tends to do what's asked of him. He tends to do his job, because for him it is a job. It's what he does. It's his 9 to 5. He gets up in the morning and he goes to work. That's what this is for Mason. He's not doing it out of kind of love for somebody else.
If you actually look at what he is and how he's able to fight through all the bullshit, I suppose you could say, of his past and still fight for good, super soldier, good name for him, I think.
I chose to play Mason myself because it was so hard to find other actors to play the supporting roles. And I didn't really have time to do auditions or get someone in I didn't know. Plus, I played him in the original. I really like playing him in the original. I wanted to play him again. I wanted to really show what I can do as an actor. It's a field I like dabbling in from time to time.
Oh no, then you'll actually
There's a lot of preparation on the acting side for me playing Mason. So I worked out a lot. Not as much as I should. College got in the way, and it was a rocky road anyway. So I did a lot of workouts just here in the house and kettlebell workouts, just to look fit, and as if I was in the army, and I started to rely more on my skills rather than on my size. Then all the research I did for the scripts, what a Navy SEAL says, what a Navy SEAL thinks, what Mossad agents feels and thinks and all that. And what different martial arts disciplines, what they teach you, that all directly fed into the character of Mason. If what you're doing is good, then why is the biggest police agency in the world hunting you down? Mercer is the antagonist of the film.
He's an arms dealer. It's pretty much most of what you know about him in this movie. And other than that, he's just the thorn in Mason's side. He's the person who Mason has brought in, he's drafted in to actually get rid of and take out.
When me and Sean, who plays Mercer, we were talking about him, and we wanted a relationship where they were more or less one and the same.
They couldn't be developed separately because you wanted to have traits that would clash. So as much as they had all these things that kind of brought them together to nearly you can nearly see them as the same person in certain aspects. They've certain personality traits that are so strikingly similar. But we also needed to make sure there was differences. So sitting down and talking about how we developed the characters was great, and it definitely, I think it gave us both an insight into how to play the characters. And I think had we not sat down and had them conversations and had, Kieran just sat in a room on his own and done it all, there wouldn't have been as much depth to the characters, because you didn't have the person who's playing the other character sitting there and kind of going, I don't think he'd do this, or I don't think he'd say that. So them conversations were very important. I think overall, they definitely made that dynamic a lot stronger between them two characters.
So Mercer is the arms dealer. He's inspired by Victor Boot. He was called the Lord of War and the Merchant of Death, and he was an arms dealer. He did arms drops for the CIA, and he did it for the bad guys, he did it for the good guys, he did it for the middle guy. He could fly into any place and drop off guns and say, this is Mercer.
In his mind, he's not evil. He's not doing anything wrong. Everything he's doing is for the betterment of other people. Maybe to take down the government or to help people in some sort of revolution, or it kind of reflects what's going on now. Someone like that would actually really come in handy in certain countries in the world, yet other countries would see them as a complete villain.
So he supports these civil wars, and to the point where the plot of the film is that he's giving away guns for free. That's when we go after him.
Mercer, it's not a job, this is his life. And I think that definitely comes across with how much Mercer does not like Mason, because he's not coming in and trying to stop him doing a job. He's trying to interrupt this man's way of life. That'd be like someone coming in to your house and stopping you putting food on your kid's table. So this was genuinely like a personal attack on Mercer, which is why he feels so strongly about all this stuff, whereas with Mason it's just a job.
Like, in that pivotal scene between me and Mercer near the end of the film, it's just a battle of words. It's completely different. Like, Mercer is saying, or Mason is saying, you can't hear someone's opinion when they're firing an AK-47 at you, which pisses off Mercer.
He immediately took that as if Mason was questioning his kind of values, his value system, which he holds very strongly. So he immediately, struck back and brought up all this horrible stuff that Mason had done in his past, and the people, the lives he'd taken and the lives he'd caused, the deaths he'd caused. Which again, it got Mason. He tried like Mercer did, tried not to show, that it hit him as hard as it did. What it did, it really did. And at this point, you knew both characters had something on each other. They had something, that they could pull on. They could pull on the other one's strings. They knew what buttons to push.
And you're really getting across these two are the exact same. Just that are they slightly on the different sides? Is Mercer actually the good guy? If we followed Mercer in the film, you would support Mercer, wouldn't you? And that's what I was trying to get across. There is no good guy, there is no bad guy. These are the same. It just depends what side of the fence you're on. Even if, no matter what side of the fence you're on, you'll see each of them are good and bad in their own way.
And I think that made it a lot more interesting, because you now knew both of them were vulnerable. Both of them were emotionally vulnerable now, not just physically. Because Mason obviously was tied to a chair, so but he was now emotionally raw too. And it added an extra aspect to their kind of rivalry, if you like. So it's a very important part of the film, I think.
Very nice. It's all on video.
Oh yeah. Sexy as all hell.
Yeah. What Sean brought to Mercer, he made that character his own, and it's very hard to do, make a character your own.
It was difficult. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It was, but a lot of it was looking kind of menacing. Standing around and looking authoritative, looking like he was in charge of the situation. And it was always about walking around the room like you owned the place. Not just wandering around or sneaking around. Every time you see Mercer walking around, he has this kind of air of confidence and air of, I'm in charge. Nobody here can do anything to stop me. And that's the way you kind of had to show, to show that authority. You couldn't show it, obviously you couldn't show it in his face. It's completely covered up. So it was a lot of body language, a lot of physical acting.
Well, this is how change occurs. By doing something drastic. Something forceful.
Ulrich, his minion, is his minion.
I'm really just a hired muscle. I don't have my own agenda per se, but I do stuff for the money.
he's just like anyone else in the country. He's working for a paycheck, and that's all he's doing. He takes things personally. I think that's what is the difference between him and Mason. Mason doesn't take anything personally. Ulrich gets beaten up. Yeah, you're his arch enemy. You know.
It's it's just me doing what I'm told and beating up the guy that Mercer tells me to, and then that guy turns out to be a bit of a, well, in my view, an arsehole. So I start to take offence, and that leads into me really hating his guts as Ulrich, and then it culminates, I suppose, in a conversation of sorts as he's tied to a chair, and it's kind of post torture at this stage, and mid torture to be honest, and we're getting under each other's skin, we're kind of bouncing off each other, and none of us are giving up. It's just cocky comment, another cocky comment. No one's kind of let up at all, and that just heightens tensions. Well, more for Ulrich. I think Mason can take it in stride. He's used to this kind of thing. He's used to people like Ulrich, but Ulrich has a bit of a hot temper, so he doesn't take it quite as well.
Ulrich's coming out as this guy who is possibly, posturing towards being the biggest guy, the strongest guy, posturing towards, finally getting the kill on Mason, which he's been wanting to do for so long. It's a very interesting word game that they play between each other, in that, Mason's totally just uninterested in Ulrich trying to intimidate him, and Ulrich is constantly, just thinking Mason's an idiot, he's a fool, this guy who's coming in here into my world where he doesn't know, hasn't got a clue what's going on. So it is a very interesting word game between them.
It was him trying to be unbiased, even though he's working for Mercer, because he didn't want to go with anyone's ideals. He wanted money. That's what Ulrich was about in this particular situation. He had his own thoughts about things, I'm sure, but he didn't want to let that be shown. So as a character, I think he probably had his own misgivings about both sides of it. And maybe he showed more on the Mason side because he's working with Mercer and because Mason really pissed him off. But as a character now, he wants to try to keep it locked down. He doesn't want to show that, otherwise who's going to hire him again after that?
I think Ulrich's probably cleverer than you get to see. I don't think he gets enough props. I think he definitely is. I'd say had he been given a bit more time with Mason, you would have probably seen that come out. But where we came in, you could kind of see it was a little later in the whole situation, so he was probably pissed off at this point. And I would say yes, Mercer would be the brains of the operation, but I don't think Ulrich is your usual grunt who just stands around and does absolutely everything he's told. I would say if we had more time to get to know him, that would have probably come out too.
The magic has stopped now, so you can stop that. I'm the performing monkey. I think it's probably because I prefer character acting rather than taking the central role. I just prefer to be someone who, I wouldn't say pivotal to the story, but adds a bit of authenticity to it. And I wouldn't say comic relief, but I suppose you could say he's partly the comic relief of it. I like being different characters. I like putting on voices. I've done it before in other Kieran movies. That's what I enjoy. I prefer not to be in the spotlight. I'd do it fine if I was asked, but I prefer just secondary character, tertiary character maybe.
If I had my way, you would be dead.
So Nick is the director of Cirta.
And just sort of look after Mason and make sure he's okay, give him all of his objectives and what he should do and what he shouldn't do, like kill 11 children. That wasn't under my orders, but however.
He has that look of being an authority, but he can play the clueless idiot. He's that sort of leader. He's a really strong leader, but he'll let everyone else figure it out for themselves.
Wait, hold on, I'm gonna start laughing because when that pops
Yeah, I'm
up,
actually. I'm right there.
Right.
The best thing about it was I could do lots of takes because a few of them was just like, so what was my line? That was pretty much it. But the pill. Not being able to hit the pot, and then when I did hit the pot, then I was supposed to miss the shot. Didn't look and potted the ball. That didn't really go down well.
We get to walk off the grid,
Only you and my team has to know about it. We get to field test the soldiers.
Natalie, she isn't the love interest. She's not the damsel in distress. She's in charge. She's the handler of Mason. She gives him his missions, takes care of him, gets him what he needs.
Natalie was just sort of second in command. You're just like, oh, look, this is what we're doing. Tell him what we're doing. Him a nice slap. She pulled off well.
It was probably like fifth one or something.
We can.
Because I was told it was going to be the last one, so I really went for it, and then we did another like 4 or 5.
No.
Mercer will be able to find out how the mole. We also hope that your Mercer. We also hope that the mole in Mercer will fall in the agency. Mercer will in the agency. And I hope that when you capture Mercer, you'll be able to find the agency. You'll be able to find out the mole in the agency. Find out who the mole is. Who the mole is.
Claims he's giving people a way of voicing their opinion.
Norman is the tech genius of Cirta.
Yep.
He is the geekiest looking out of all of them. He has a soul patch. He wears sunglasses indoors because he's stared at the screen too much. He rarely ventures outside. He has his hood up and a hat on in probably the warmest of climates. He's the tech guy.
Interpol Field Office Director Richard Bennett.
Really? Richard Bennett, he's the head of the Interpol division. He doesn't want Mason on his team. He works with Mercer. He's getting a paycheck. He's getting something out of it.
So what's the catch?
If you were to rank who was the bad guy, he would be at the top of the list, followed by Mercer.
Well, get someone to stop him. You stop him.